Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
3 men guilty of their participation in the plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer learn their fate. That does top our news today here on your Thursday. Each man sentenced on several counts in connection with aiding the leader who plotted to kidnap the governor. Victor Williams has been following the sentencing for us and bring us up to speed on what's happening in court.
Yes, Rhonda. Well, this was one very long sentencing with it taking all morning. It really just wrapped up moments ago, but we know that Joe Morrison, Pete Musico, and Paul Bellar sent before a judge learning their fate for their alleged roles in the plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Now, in the end, the trio would receive a lot of time behind bars, with Pete Musico being sentenced to 12 to 42 years. Joe Morrison received 10 to 42 years, and Paul Bellar was ordered to complete a 7-year sentence. All 3 men were a part of the paramilitary group called the Wolverine Watchmen and had been found guilty of providing material support for a terrorist act and other charges associated with this kidnapping plot that failed. In court, all 3 men seemed remorseful, realizing the severity of the situation.
Your Honor, I had a lapse in judgment. I've been a good citizen. I've been a family man. I've taken care of my family for a very long time. All I can do is say, Your Honor, please, I don't myself too much to the court.
I made mistakes. I acted recklessly and carelessly with my words. I got around the wrong people. I fed off their energy. I regret that I ever let hate, fear, and anger into my heart the way I did.
I would like to apologize to the governor. Again, the very stupid comments I made. I in no way meant her any harm. And if I had known about the plot actually being a serious thing, I wouldn't have been where I was at that time.
We'll have more on what went down in the courtroom at 5 p.m. Victor Williams, Local 4.
All right, Victor, thank you. Also breaking right now, the man police say threatened preschoolers, parents, and others outside of a Jewish synagogue is now being charged with a federal crime. Hassan Choker is accused of lying on a federal firearms form about his previous criminal history in order to buy 3 guns earlier this month. Choker has a 2017 felony conviction and at that time also had a felony assault charge, pending both of which would make it illegal for him to own a gun. Choker is being held at the Oakland County Jail facing ethnic intimidation based on his conduct outside of that Jewish synagogue. Today, we learned how long the man guilty of killing and mutilating a man he met on a dating app will be behind bars. A judge sentenced Mark Latunsky to life in prison without the chance of parole in the death of Kevin Bacon. Latunsky killed Kevin Bacon in a Shiawassee County home back in 2019. Police say that Latunsky murdered Bacon and ate parts of his body. During the sentencing hearing today, the family of Bacon spoke of their anger towards Latunsky.
In your sick, twisted mind, you probably don't think you did anything wrong. But in reality, you took our world away. This Christmas, I hope you suffer like we have, because you won't be able to be with your family. I hope you feel pain as you are all alone with all the years yet to come.
To Mr. Bacon's family.
Latunsky pleaded guilty to Bacon's death back in September. Now to the ongoing fight against inflation. As expected yesterday, the Federal Reserve raised its key interest rate again. Meantime, on Capitol Hill, lawmakers say that they are inching closer to a deal to avoid a government shutdown. NBC's Susan McGinnis is in Washington with the very latest.
Well, House lawmakers reached a deal late last night to avert a government shutdown for now, and the Federal Reserve taking a hammer to inflation, but this time a smaller hammer.
And that we are strongly committed.
The Federal Reserve trying to knock out inflation one last time before year end, raising its key interest rate 0.5 percentage point, the 7th hike this year, and a more modest hike than the last several, but indicating more are coming.
We still have some ways to go.
Even though there's been 2 better than expected inflation reports, the Fed still feels like it has a lot more work to do.
Inflation is slowing, evident in lower gas prices.
We're heading in the right direction.
It's a big relief, you know. When it comes to like previous month, it's so painful in the pocket.
But for many, prices remain painfully high. Americans shelling out more to take out loans and pay down credit cards now face a tougher job market.
There will be some softening in labor market conditions, and I wish there were a completely painless way to restore price stability. There isn't. And this is the best we can do.
The yeas are 224.
On Capitol Hill, a more festive mood. House lawmakers reaching a late-night deal, temporarily funding the government, a bill now heading to the Senate.
We still have a long way to go.
If a truly bipartisan full-year bill without poison pills is ready for final Senate passage by late next week, then I'll support it.
The bill could buy much-needed time to work out a larger spending package covering most of next year.
And the new possible deadline to avert a government shutdown comes up again 2 days before Christmas. In Washington, Susan McGinnis, back to you.
Susan, thank you. So how is this impacting the New York Stock Exchange? Well, let's take a look. Right now, stocks are taking a tumble. The Dow is currently down around 800 points. Both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are also seeing stocks down as well. Investors fear the recent rate hike has the Fed tipping the economy into a recession. If you were out of the door early this morning, then you were a part of that intense and heavy rain and high winds that hit the metro area. This was the scene at Lawrence and Dale in Centerline, where crews were fighting a fire due to a down power line. But all of that rain moved out early this morning, and this is a live look at downtown Detroit right now. You can see folks out on the ice enjoying the rink at Campus Martius Park, and the wind has moved out as well. But temperatures, honestly, not too bad right now in the 40s.
No, but don't get used to it. This is the last of it, Rhonda. I mean, the last of it for a good while. But here, we'll start with exact track 40 radar, and you can see the rain is gone. I mean, we had a good slug of that stuff that came in. I heard from Steve Sobel in Farmington, and he had, I believe, 2/3 of an inch of rain that came through this morning. So this was a good soaker. We actually needed that rain. Look at the sky cam shot, looking across from Windsor at the skyline. Look at that cloud deck there. But we also have some breaks, some open sky, and the temperatures have responded. A lot of us are in the low 40s right now. And as Rhonda just mentioned, notice the wind. That has really settled down from what we had this morning. Most areas, it's 5 to 10 miles per hour with maybe just a few routine gusts in there, but nothing of any extraordinary nature. So temps, though, only going up another maybe couple of degrees or so this afternoon. So we'll call it 43, 44 degrees. Some areas may stay in the low 40s with, again, a lot of clouds, but some breaks, allowing for some sunshine in here. Coming up in just a little bit, we are going to talk about a storm next week that could give us a white Christmas, maybe, and may disrupt travel as well. We'll have all that straight ahead.
Okay, still to come. Concerns for winter. The White House planning to restart its free COVID test program ahead of a potential winter surge in cases. Plus, inching closer to a ban, the U.S. Senate now taking aim at TikTok. The newest developments out of Washington.